We're going to move on to our last talk of the day before the fireside chat. So for this one, I'd like to bring on Yaniv to tell you all about Geo and all the amazing things that they've been reimagining for how we communicate. So please give you a big round of applause.
Hey everyone, great to be here. My name's Yaniv. I founded the Graph back in 2017. The last few years I've been working on a project called Geo, and today I'm going to be talking about building consumer apps on Web3. So to start, I want you to take a minute and think about all of the apps that you use every day on your phone, on your desktop for work, in your personal lives. Just think about like where you spend your time in apps. My bet is that most of those apps are not Web3 apps, right? And that means that we have these corporations that own and control your data. They make the rules, they lock you in. We know the deal, right? Well, people spend about 4.2 hours a day on their mobile devices, and 96% of that time is not spent in financial apps. So why? You know, I mean, if you think about apps on Ethereum, how many of them are not financial in nature? So I think the reason why DeFi has been really successful so far is because it is significantly better than TradFi, right? We have programmable money. You can send money anywhere in the world like instantly. It's a much better user experience. Whereas when it comes to things like Web3 social, what we see is that the apps tend to be a lot more similar to the Web2 apps, right? And if it's kind of the same sort of app, I mean, the reality is the Web2 apps have pretty good network effects already. So it's going to take a lot to get people to use, a new set of apps. And if we think about like for Web3, what is it that we do that's really different? It really comes down to freedom, right? Yesterday at ETHCC, Vitalik gave a talk, and he said that the real point of decentralization was to give users freedom, right? And I agree with that. Freedom of their assets and freedom of their data. Right? And what that means is you should be able to take your data with you across different applications, right? And you should be able to customize your apps, and you should really have full freedom over your data. And that should work for private data as well as public data. And so we think that the secret to delivering on this promise of true freedom of your data is knowledge graphs. Raise your hand if you know what knowledge graphs are. Okay, it's actually maybe like 15% of the room. So knowledge graphs are a really powerful and flexible way of organizing information so that it can be composable across applications. With knowledge graphs, you define entities and relations. And entities can be any kind of person, place, or thing, right? So there can be an entity for me, for the city of Cannes, for Pragma. And you have relations between entities. And it's really free form, so you can represent any kind of information. Now, knowledge graphs are really taken off right now because of AI. Because AI needs context. And knowledge graphs are a really powerful way to add more and more knowledge and information that can be used as context to AI so that they can give you answers that are up to date and accurate so you can get rid of hallucinations. So imagine if all of the apps that you use were built on an open, interconnected knowledge graph. Then you could post or you could use any app to produce information, the apps that you're using every day, and any other app could understand and interpret that information. They could remix it for you in new ways. You could have more control over your algorithms, and you'd really have control over all of your data. And this is really important both for public data as well as your private data. But having interoperability for private data is actually pretty tricky. So you have a lot of sensitive private information on your iPhone, for example, right? Things like your contacts and photos. And you probably don't want like any app on your phone to just have access to all your photos, right? I don't. And so the way that the OS handles this is it asks the user to grant permissions to specific apps, right, to access your private data. And this is the only way to ensure like privacy and that users are in control. Now, with the iPhone, they enable this for only certain types of information, right, like contacts, like HealthKit. But what if you could do this with any type of thing and any type of app? To do that, you need standards, right? Standards really unlock interoperability. Like on Ethereum, we have the ERC20 standard, and that's really enabled DeFi and the growth of this whole ecosystem just by having an interoperable standard for value that any application can use. So at the last Pragma in Prague, I introduced GRC20, which is a new standard for knowledge graphs. And that gives you a core primitive of interoperable knowledge that different applications can use to understand each other and to be truly interoperable. So where are the apps in Web3 with GRC20? Well, to enable applications, it's really helpful to have frameworks. And we can look at the web as an example. With frameworks like LAMP and then WordPress and then Ruby on Rails and React, these frameworks have been really integral to the growth of the web. In fact, we can look at the number of websites on the web over time, and what you see is it was basically a flat line until the Apache web server came out that was basically like a framework in December 1995, and then we hit this like crazy inflection point. And so, that's what we want to do with apps in Ethereum. If you can think back to 2007, 2010, the early days of the iPhone, lots of people were building apps. People were excited to try new apps, right? And I think this is like what can happen when you have a really great platform and great tools for developers to build apps. And so this is what we want to bring to Ethereum. And today I'm excited to announce Hyperraph, a new local first framework for building Web3 consumer apps. Now, local first is a movement that's been really taken off in the web development community. And they don't know it yet, but it's because those web developers actually have the same values we do. Right? They care about privacy. They're sick of working at these SaaS companies that are just locking users in, and they want to build really great apps. And local first is a way to do that. We want to keep your data private, right, away from the Web 2 giants. We want to make your data interoperable so you can use it across whatever applications you want and take it with you, really delivering on that freedom. Hypergraph enables applications that have real-time sync, so you can build like Google Docs or Notion or Figma style experiences. And this is how it works. We use CRDTs for the private shared data. And all of that shared data is encrypted, fully end-to-end encrypted. And you can use the same framework for your private data as well as the public data. So if you want to publish or consume data to this public interoperable graph, you can use the GRC20 standard, upload that data to IPFS, and anchor it on chain. And so that way you can have global consensus over this public knowledge graph. So let's take a look at an example of the sorts of apps that you can build with Hypergraph. So my wife works in fashion. And for most of my life, I've walked around wearing these types of jeans. And recently, I found out that I can't keep going around doing this. As it turns out, you reach a certain age, and if you're wearing skinny jeans, this is how people see you. So I need to solve this problem. I'm going to build an app. So the first thing I'm going to do is use this new developer tool called TypeSync, where I can browse the public graph for existing types and properties that I can pull into my application. So here I'm looking for pants, brands, models, and it's this, um, you know, choosing existing and converging on types and properties that is what creates the interoperability for applications. Then we provide a typed SDK for your application where you can write and read and query data using nice autocomplete. And then from there, I just vibe coded an app in just a few hours. It's called Skinny Jeans. And to start, I built a screen where you can query the public graph, in this case for public, for pants that are part of different e-commerce websites. And our mission with Geo is to help organize all of the world's public knowledge and information in an open, meritocratic way. And organizing all of this into a graph. So you could imagine there could be a time very soon where we have all of the world's clothes and all of the world's products and things that are just part of this global graph that anybody can use, and you can just pull it right into your app. And the fact that you don't have to bootstrap your own network effects, your own data sets, is going to enable a lot of really cool apps. So here we start with this public data set, but then I want to create a private space for my own personal wardrobe. So here I'm going to use the GeoConnect app, where I can grant access to the Skinny Jeans app to use my private space. And from there, I can grab the pants that I personally own, and then I can tag them as either being baggy or skinny. And like that, I can make sure that I'm not committing crimes. I can even invite my wife so that she can collaborate with me on this to make sure that I always stay on point. So, this is just kind of a silly app, but, I built this in a few hours. And you can imagine, if you can build an app like this in a few hours, what types of apps can people build with this? Our goal is to help people build the next, million apps on Ethereum that are all open and interconnected, and now that include public as well as private data. And you can really build any kind of app on this. Business apps like CRMs, project management tools, for your own custom, hiring workflows, or personal apps, things that are related to your interest groups. I think now with AI, we're going to see a lot more vibe-coded apps and hyper-personalized software, and people can do that. And all of these apps are going to be open and interconnected on Ethereum. I just want to thank the team that helped worked on Hypergraph. We've got Nick here, who is our team lead on a Hypergraph, and his last name is in fact Graph. That is not a typo. This was a cross-team effort across core devs at the Graph, so thank you very much. We're going to be at the ETHGlobal Hackathon this weekend. There's $10,000 in prizes for the Graph, $5,000 specifically for teams that want to build with Hypergraph. We're given a workshop by Kevin Jones tomorrow at 5 o'clock. This is a developer preview, so you'll want to get in touch with us, and we can help you get successful and up and running this weekend. We're going to be here all weekend and really happy to help. So we want to help you build the next consumer apps. We want to help you get users. We want to help you get this stuff to market. And we want to make Ethereum really great beyond just DeFi to any kind of app that's open, that puts users in control and gives users freedom. I can't wait to see what you build. Thank you so much.